کرونا کی وجہ سے دنیا میں بہت زیادہ تباہی کا شکار ہیں افراد. اس وجہ سے وزیر اعظم عمران خان اس کانفرنس سے آج ورچوئل خطاب کریں گے، جس میں وہ ایشیا کے کردار پہ آج بات کریں گے. وزیر اعظم عمران خان جاپان میں ہونے والی اس 26ویں کانفرنس سے ایشیا کانفرنس سے خطاب کر رہے ہیں، جس میں وہ ورچوئل خطاب کریں گے. اور وزیر اعظم کی جو پالیسیز ہیں دنیا بھر میں کرونا کے حوالے سے، ان کی بھی پذیرائی کے حوالے سے بھی بات ہوگی. اور وزیر اعظم کے خطاب کی طرف ابھی کچھ دیر بعد آپ کو لیے چلیں گے، جس کا عنوان ہے کرونا کے بعد عالمی صورتحال سے نمٹنے میں ایشیا کا کردار. اور ناظرین، آپ کو دوبارہ بتاتے چلیں کہ وزیر اعظم عمران خان جاپان میں ہونے والی 26ویں فیوچر آف ایشیا کانفرنس سے ورچوئل خطاب کر رہے ہیں، جس کا عنوان ہے کرونا کے بعد عالمی صورتحال سے نمٹنے میں ایشیا کا کیا کردار ہے. براہ راست وزیر اعظم کے خطاب کی طرف کچھ دیر بعد آپ کو لیے چلیں گے. وزیر اعظم عمران خان 26ویں کانفرنس سے خطاب کر رہے ہیں. اعظم عمران خان جاپان میں ہونے والی 26ویں فیوچر آف ایشیا کانفرنس سے ورچوئل خطاب کر رہے ہیں. آئیے آپ کو براہ راست وزیر اعظم کے خطاب کی جانب لیے چلتے ہیں.
بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم. چیئرمین نکائے کارپوریشن, excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I'm honored to speak to you at the 26th conference on the future of Asia. Asia is home to half of the world's population. Asia's future is the world's future. This is where the most dynamic economic growth, social change, technological advances, and human development have taken place in the last 50 years. This is where the course of history will be decided in the 21st century. Today, Asia and the world are at an important juncture. We confront unprecedented challenges, but we also have exciting opportunities to advance progress and prosperity. Our first priority at present is to confront and conquer the COVID-19 pandemic. This virus has created the worst global health, economic, and social crisis in the past 100 years. It has infected hundreds of millions, killed over 3 million people, reversed economic growth, enlarged poverty, and worst of all, created huge unemployment. Unless fully contained, it could create social chaos and threaten peace and security in Asia and elsewhere in the world. No one will be safe, unfortunately, until everyone is safe. We must act collectively to ensure that the COVID vaccines are made available to everyone, everywhere, and as soon as possible. The vaccines supply and distribution must be immediately expanded. Patent rights waived. Production ramped up, including in the developing world, and the COVAX facility fully extended and funded. The virus has had the most severe impact on the poorest countries, but not just the poorest countries, the poor in all the countries. It is essential to provide low-income countries and others in financial distress with fiscal space and liquidity to respond to the impact of the pandemic and revive economic growth and preserve social stability. I had proposed a 5-point agenda for debt relief, SDR creation and reallocation, larger concessional finance, fulfillment of climate finance commitments, and an end to illicit financial flows from developing countries. I'm gratified that consensus is evolving on these essential actions already. I welcome the extension of G20's debt suspension initiative, the agreement to create $650 billion in new SDRs, to expend IDA funding, and to expand emergency support programs for the multilateral development banks. The recommendations of the FACT-I panel on illicit financial flows must also be implemented. To ensure rapid recovery, we in Asia and elsewhere must keep economies open, revive disrupted supply chains, and resist protection temptation. If Asian and other countries are to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals by 2030 and net zero carbon emissions by 2050, we will need to invest massively in new and sustainable infrastructure, energy, transportation, housing, agriculture, and industry. Both public and private investment should be mobilized to this end. The less developed countries must be helped to prepare a pipeline of sustainable infrastructure projects. To attract private investment, such projects will need to be de-risked through blended finance and investment guarantees and incentives. We must also continue to mobilize science and technology to accelerate sustainable growth through targeted research on innovations and applications required to advance the sustainable development and environmental goals. The rapid digitalization of economies is essential to ensure dynamic growth. The digital divide between advanced economies, where 87% of people are online, and the poorest countries, where only 19% have internet access, must be bridged. Otherwise, the divergence in growth trajectory of advanced and developing economies will widen further. This will require expanded investment in digital hardware and software. Resilient and dynamic economic growth, particularly in Asia, depends significantly on greater integration and physical connectivity. China's Belt and Road Initiative provides the important pathway to such regional integration across the Asia-Pacific region and beyond. We welcome proposals from Japan and others to support and finance quality infrastructure in Asia and elsewhere. The China-Pakistan Economic Corridor is a flagship project of the Belt and Road Initiative. It has generated economic activity, employment, and will enhance bilateral and regional trade. Pakistan has invited all friendly countries to join in investing in the several economic industrial zones being established under the CPEC umbrella. Pakistan looks towards serving as a geo-economic hub connecting the economies of Central Asia, South Asia, West Asia, and beyond. These sub-regions are the areas which possess greatest potential for dynamic new growth to Asia. This potential cannot be fully unleashed until we resolve the outstanding conflicts and disputes in this region. Pakistan has actively supported the peace process in Afghanistan. As foreign forces withdraw from Afghanistan, it is imperative to redouble efforts to promote the peace process between the Afghan parties. As I've said over the years, there is no military solution to the conflict. Pakistan hopes that the violence will be sharply reduced and the Afghan parties will engage constructively to secure an inclusive, broad-based, and comprehensive political settlement. Pakistan desires peaceful, cooperative relations with all its neighbors, including India. But India must stop the human rights violations in occupied Jammu and Kashmir and revisit the unilateral measures it took on 5th August 2019. It is essential that an enabling environment is created for dialogue to peacefully resolve the Jammu and Kashmir dispute in accordance with the United Nations Security Council resolutions and the wishes of the people of Kashmir. We hope that the other threats to peace and security in Asia will also be resolved. The situation in Palestine remains a matter of deep concern to everyone, The international community must take urgent actions to stop the Israeli attacks against Palestinians, prevent the desecration of holy places, especially Al-Aqsa Mosque, and facilitate a just and lasting solution in line with the relevant United Nations resolutions and the two-state vision. Finally, we consider it vital to avoid great power rivalry and tensions in the Asia-Pacific. There is ample room in Asia for economic, trade, and investment participation of all states. Yet Asia must not become the theater of tensions induced from without or within. The differences and disputes in Asia require Asian solutions on the basis of Asian values and interests. The Asia-Pacific, including the Indian Ocean, should become a zone of peace, an area of expanding cooperation and prosperity, through strict adherence to the principles of the UN Charter and the Bandung principles of peaceful coexistence. I thank you.